Hey Henry, how's it going?
Good. And yourself, Connor, how are you getting on?
All good, all good. Probably drank a bit too much this weekend, which, believe it or not, is unlike me these days. I know all my subscribers will be like, "Nah, we've seen you before," but yeah, these days I don't drink as much as I used to, so I'm feeling it still.
You save it for the holidays, yeah?
Yeah, it's just there's too many holidays. This is the problem.
Yeah,
Uh,
no. I'm
you get up
actually
to anything
was
interesting?
well, I was gonna say I actually had a hockey match on Saturday and then had one too many as well myself Saturday night. So Sunday was a my bed got to see a lot of me. So yeah, we lost the match unfortunately, but had a good night out after, which is the most important thing.
Most important thing. I remember I used to play rugby, and our team wasn't the best team, put it that way, but we always had a good post game
Mm.
session, shall we call it. So yeah, yeah, good old days. Well, I did actually have one interesting event. Well, I had a few interesting events, but last week I had a podcast with Mark Devlin. I think I mentioned it to you, didn't I? That was going to
Well,
have
who is
the
Mark Devlin? You can let us know. I actually don't know who he is.
yeah. So Mark is a what did we say? He's an author and a DJ. He's wrote a few books. One's Musical Truth trilogy. He's just completed that. He basically talks about a lot of the goings on in the music industry, present and past, more so past, I suppose. He talks about the Beatles and the management of the Beatles and how basically there was a proxy war between the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, even though they had very similar connections and probably weren't at odds at all. It was just created um, so people would believe the narrative that buy the records and all that kind of jazz. So very interesting, man. We had a great podcast. It's a little bit too hot for YouTube, so I'm going to probably release clips onto YouTube. It's on Rumble, so I'll put a link below. So check that out for the full podcast. And it's quite funny. I was quite nervous because Mark's got a big following. And I fluffed up like one of the first lines I asked him. I fluffed up. Well, it is the first line I asked him. I messed it up. So that was a bit awkward. And Mark's like a bit like, okay, is this guy just fucking doesn't know what he's doing? And then we pulled it through, and we had a good podcast. But well, Mark pulled it through, but I was nervous. And then the second half of the podcast, I get into it more, and I talk more in the second half. But Mark was great. Talks about everything, really hot content. So if you don't like hearing that stuff, maybe just stay away from it. But yeah, talks about a lot of issues and a lot of theories and conspiracies, I suppose. So
Yeah, well, as we were only saying earlier, is that look, it's important that people are able to express their opinions and their deeply held beliefs. Some people they might have beliefs that you find a bit nutty or wacky, but I still think people should have the freedom to be able to say what they feel they have to say, unless it's totally, completely, utter crazy. But in general, people should be allowed to say what they have to say,
as a vague
and it's
rule,
enjoyable as well. It's just education, as you said. I enjoy, even some of the debates I used to enjoy in school. I remember we did a bit of debating, and I found it always interesting because in a debate, both sides always will have points that you can't argue with. So I think sometimes when we're doing debates in school, I would always, I think sometimes you need to understand it like, okay, you have made a good point on the other side, and sometimes just be honest about it. But you can still hold your view. But generally in a debate, both sides will have good points, and
yeah,
one side will narrowly win.
exactly. And well, I was having a conversation today with one of my close friends, and her boyfriend's quite an intellectual. Um, but what? Well, I shouldn't say too much, but basically, he builds an opinion based off a single hypothesis, really. So he gets one piece of information that might be quite detailed, might be quite a convincing argument, and can kind of run with that. Whereas really you should question all hypotheses. And I'm not saying he doesn't always do that, but in some occasions he might not. So yeah, it's important to be able to question things, even if you think it's nonsense to do it,
Yeah.
or you've got to have those conversations. I'm
Well,
just gonna mute myself.
scrutiny will also improve your own understanding of the topic as well, because someone will come up with a scrutiny of what you're saying, and you'll have to think, right, how do I defend myself in this scenario? So, having an open dialogue and a lot of scrutiny will actually improve
Yeah,
your understanding of the topic, and
definitely.
it
I
will.
mean, the way I see it is,
No competition means you don't improve. Competition means you improve. So scrutiny is competition.
yeah, that's what they're saying at Newcastle. They're going to get the best out of Alan Saint-Maximin because he's got competition finally. Get that extra 10%.
I could say so much about that. It's the same. Like if you're on a job and let's say you've got 10 lads on a job, they're painters, and then you've got 10 new painters come in and these guys are shit hot, they're good. You're thinking to yourself, right, we got a bit of compo here, you know what I'm saying? We got to
let's get a new role.
We got to get there early in the morning.
That's it. Old PJ's paint jobs, splish, splash, splosh. Yeah. So what I'm going to say, yeah, I've got well, it's not my theory, but just what I think is, I don't think we know all that much as a civilization. I think we give ourselves credit for a lot of things that we don't actually have a full understanding of. And I think we should have the courage to accept that we don't know that much at all. We know very little about the universe. We still haven't explored the planet that we live on entirely. And I'm not taking anything away from what we are as a species. We're incredible. But my point is that we shouldn't take for granted that we know everything and that all the questions are answered. Far from it. Truths are being unearthed all the time, and to the flip side of that, things are being disproven a lot. And I think it's, for me, that I don't trust any narratives, really. I'll question everything. And I think that's a good skeptical way to live, really. It's a scientific philosophy, really. And that doesn't mean you don't trust gravity or you don't trust the walls around you, but it means you can make educated decisions, or at least view things from different perspectives, and see how you feel about those, or see how they work out. Don't follow just one narrative.
I thought Gary Lineker knew everything, no?
Yeah, Gary does. Gary knows everything. He certainly knows where the fucking Twitter button is. He's tweeting like a fucking...
Nah, I'm only joking. No, Gary Lineker, he's a pretty clever dude. But yeah, no, as you said, yeah, look, you can never know everything about everything, and things always change. I remember when we were doing science in school, and the first day the teacher comes in and slaps her hand on the book and goes, guys, she goes, in 100 years' time, half of this book could be proven false. So it's not a 100% science what's in this book, and things constantly evolve and change, and truths change. So that was, I thought, a very good way of introducing us to science when I was in first year in secondary school. I was actually thought that was a really, it was a very modest way as well of Scottish teacher. She was Scottish. She was sound. She was tough though. She was a tough Scottish woman, but she was nice. And I remember, yeah, she was telling us that it's not absolutely certain some of the stuff that's in this book, but some of it is, some of it isn't. So obviously gravity is that's a fact, but there's a lot of things she said half the book could be,
well, that's an interesting one,
maybe gravity will be proven wrong, maybe I'll be wrong.
I mean, we know the fundamentals of gravity, but we it's only a theory as to why it's happening. Nobody's gone to the center mass of the earth and proven it. But okay, we can tell certain things.
Well, essentially, yeah. If you have a weighted object, it moves down.
Well, we all have a center of mass, don't we? So apparently, we all have our own orbits. So orbit around us. And that's it. Who knows? That's questionable. I'm sure a good scientist can prove it to me, and you know, and I'm not saying to question things for the. And this is where I'm kind of going a bit.
Yeah, you
off
make a
topic.
kid. Well,
So
how do you know water's healthy for me? How do you know water's healthy for me?
Oh, it's an interesting thing.
But,
yeah, it's all interesting.
So we go back into the travel anyway. So Connor, where was the favorite place you ever visited in your life?
Big question, isn't it? I've had it a few times. I think it's impossible to give one answer, but I've always really enjoyed the west coast of Ireland, and we could dwell on that for a minute. But another place, a bit more exotic. One of my best travel stories, I think, was going to Komodo Island in Indonesia.
Oh, genie! Oh, nice. Yeah,
like
fun time.
like David Attenborough to see the Komodo dragons, and yeah, it was not just seeing the dragons, which were really impressive, but yeah, the islands were just so beautiful, and hardly anybody gets there. So you had to pay like minimum $100, which sounds like, oh well, $100, and this was 10 years ago, really, as well. Which doesn't sound that much now, but at the time it was quite expensive just to get across. And then you couldn't stay on the island, or there was only like one resort on the island because these animals are deadly. So it's you need a. So anyway, so the villagers live on these stilted houses, so the dragons can't get into the houses. So the houses are like 10 feet in the air on these stilts. But anyway, how did I get on the island? Because I wasn't willing. Well, I was willing, but I was damned if I was going to be paying $100 to get to this island. I bumped into, we were walking around. First, I met an Indonesian guy, and I think I met him on the boat over from another island to Komodo, and he's just a nice guy, really nice guy. Called him Mia. Hopefully, he'll see these podcasts one day. He's one of my friends on Facebook now. But we headed to the port because we basically said we're not going to pay $100. There must be a local way of getting to the island. And we're already on this little shanty town island, trying to get to the Komodo Island, but it's really, there's nothing going on really at all. Just tiny ports and dodgy looking roads and bumpy dirt roads everywhere. That's the main road on these islands. So I bumped into this French guy, and he's also looking to go across the island. So 3 adventurers: a local Indonesian, an Englishman, and a Frenchman. And you know what the French are like, they're, they enjoy a bit of an adventure. So we actually managed to, with having the Indonesian speaking Bahasa, we managed to speak, there's so many languages, thousands of languages on these thousands of islands in Indonesia, managed to speak to someone in the port. And we got on a local market boat. It was about 15 feet long, this boat, and it was less than 4 foot high from the bottom of the boat, really. So any bad weather, this thing's going to be going down. It's overladen. There was like 20 people on the boat. There was food, there was animals, there was all sorts. We were loving it. We were just laughing, and it was a perfect day, so we weren't really worried about the crossing. And nothing happened. The crossing was fine. On the boat, we meet a ranger because he's kind of asking what you're doing. We meet a park ranger, end up staying in this guy's house. You're not allowed to stay on the island. We stayed in this park ranger's house, and he could legally show us around the island because you can't legally get shown on the island. So he showed us around the whole island, took us to his ranger's hut. We saw loads of different dragons and wildlife and everything, had a great time. Anyway, way back, he sends us on another boat with these 2 Indonesian fellas. We're on a bit of a smaller boat this time, even smaller. And weather's fine. Not as good as the time before, but it's like, all right. So we cross back over, get to the middle of the crossing, and storm hits. So we're in this boat that's like 2 double beds put together, and we've got this crappy little engine, not powerful enough to cross on a good day hardly, and it's just going up and down and up and down, and we're just like, oh my god, we're looking at each other, we're holding onto the ship for dear life. And yeah, really between the devil and the deep blue sea that day.
Well, you get a lot of you get a lot of even like when it comes towards animals and weather and stuff in those type of places, you get a lot more diversity with weather and animals. You have every different animal you can name you've got over here. Like I was going to say, in Ireland we have like cats, dogs, deer, and it rains. So that's about it. So you don't get this like tropical, you get like monsoons, and then you get rainy season and sunny season and winter and autumn, and you get all these like
Well,
parrots, like a parrot. Like in Ireland, there's never parrots in Ireland.
so
Penguins.
this is it. So the north, let me get this right. I might get it wrong. Either the north or the south of Indonesia is hot water. I think it could be the south because that's where Australia is, but it could be the north because it's closer to the equator. I'm confused, but anyway,
Yeah,
one side
both
is hot
warm
water.
compared to Ireland anyway in the UK.
Exactly. It's got some of the best coral in the world as well, and that's because of this diversity in the water due to the hot and cold water meeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so spectacular place, but that's what causes these incredible currents, and obviously the weather systems swirling a bit. So this storm just hit. I don't think it was expected at all. And I'll be honest, it wasn't like the worst storm ever, thank goodness, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today. But it was certainly
Oh God.
it was I think it was the most dangerous danger I've been in perhaps my life, but certainly in a travel environment, other than like another human getting aggressive or being in a threatening situation. But yeah,
Fans.
incredible. But back to how good it was. It was unbelievable. And that's it.
Yeah.
I made these decisions, and not all of them were the best decisions, but there was always a massive payoff traveling. And yeah, Komodo Island. If you ever get the chance, pay that $100. Don't go on the small boat.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it even can be the same with a lot of things. Is you pay a little bit extra, but you actually end up getting a hell of a lot more. When you're
More
traveling, I
bang for your buck.
remember. Sorry.
More bang for your buck.
That's it. Sometimes paying that little bit extra for that little bit extra quality is well worth it.
That's
Um,
it.
for
I think I
sure.
was
Yeah.
22. I was 22. Didn't have much money in my pocket, but it was a great
Yeah.
experience.
But I was only going to say, actually, I was just thinking there is that it's funny because, when you go into all these islands, and same in Mexico, as we are saying with the Mayan civilization and all that. And obviously, you have all these ancient civilizations in Indonesia and probably Fiji and all that. Not that you went that far. But it's funny because no one ever mentions our civilization, Celtic people in Ireland. We've been here for like longer than most of these other civilizations that they go on about all these ancient civilizations. We're one of the most ancient going. And it's funny because sometimes we like forget about it, but the Celtic civilization in Ireland, and I'm sure as well in the UK, although I do think I can't remember who it was, but someone was saying that a lot of English people actually have like Germanic origin, so there's probably a bit of, I don't know, bit of toing and froing there, because it's even looking at England was like a Catholic country before as well, so I
Yeah,
don't know, is that to do from the Germans? Because I know in Germany it's 50-50 split, but maybe there's something to do with that. I don't know. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it is funny. Yeah, England is the what's it? England is used to be Catholic, and also a fun fact is that Boris Johnson was actually the first Catholic Prime Minister of the UK. He actually converted when he married that one recently. Someone
okay.
was telling me recently. Crazy, yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. That is
It
interesting.
actually is interesting. It's crazy, like that he converted to marry
Well,
her. Although I'm sure that the fact that she was 20 years younger than him and probably a lot more attractive than his previous wife had something to do with it as well.
yeah, might, and I think he did it for the religion, but now, do you know how many? There's been quite a few Irish presidents of America, hasn't there? Or Irish heritage, I should say.
There is, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
Uh,
pretty much all
I
to.
think
I'm
even
sure if
Biden is. I think Biden is, for that matter,
yeah,
which
but
is not.
Biden claims to be Irish, but like I'm pretty sure it's like a third granny was like Irish, but he's just doing that because there's like 40 million American Irish that he just wants their votes. But it's a clever ploy. What they do is they these presidents from America, they come to Ireland, get a pint of Guinness in Kilkenny, and then it's like all the Irish Americans like, that's a proper lad. That's one of our own. That's one of our own.
That Biden's a clever character. He's forgotten more than you'll ever know.
Yeah, no, he's yeah, I don't think personally, like, you know, his Irish heritage is not something that I'm going to go around bragging about on the global stage.
No,
But
no.
yeah,
And
no,
you
I
don't
think
know where the
he
style
says
is.
it. He says it all the time. He just randomly will be like doing a speech and just go like, I'm Irish, by the way. And it's like he just randomly says it. Like I've actually seen videos of him just randomly saying I'm Irish. And it's like you need to choose, Biden. You're either American or Irish. Like you got to make that
Right.
choice, man. Like, come on. Like, but yeah, I think there was a couple of other ones were claiming it as well. Back in the day, I think Kennedy, that was an Irish guy. John F. Kennedy. That's an Irish name, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. What were we? I was gonna tell you about Kanye West been in the news.
oh yeah, well, Kanye is he's been deplatformed. I haven't, so unlucky Kanye.
Well,
Sucker.
I think
But
we're
I
close.
know I'm gonna
We're probably close. I think
we're
we're on two
close.
strikes.
We're gonna follow Kanye to the naughty step in probably about 2 weeks. So Kanye, you keep that seat warm for us, boy, because I want to be there soon, man. But yeah, so Kanye, as I was only saying to Connor earlier, he wore a t-shirt that said White Lives Matter, and yeah, he got banned badly after doing that. Um, which I find quite interesting. He had a lot of concerts lined up in the USA, and like 5 mega stadiums just were like, no, we won't have him because he wore a t-shirt saying White Lives Matter. That is
Saying
incredible. Like that is
free will.
actually incredible. I was literally speechless when I heard that. That's
Yeah.
insane. It's not even
Yeah.
offensive.
No. No, but
Not
I
even
think
vaguely. Not even like a little bit.
well, it sums up a lot of idiocracy in the world right now. But I also feel it might be a bit of a something to make us all talk about it when we don't need to be talking about these things. Well, maybe we do, but
You could be
I
right.
feel
I
as
think
though
you're
it's
onto
more
something,
important.
Connor. Because as you said, look, like even here in Ireland, and I'm sure in America, like there's a lot of serious problems in terms of like energy crisis, cost of living crisis, accommodation crisis, like things that are affecting people's everyday lives. We're not talking about that now, are we? We're talking about some t-shirt that some celeb wore. So
Yeah,
yeah, no,
and I
you are
totally,
right. I actually do agree. And
I totally believe that. But I think it just crossed my mind. Then
but maybe
is
not
it
as well. You
free?
don't know.
Is
It's
it that's it? Is it a freedom of speech issue? Is he pointing out that we should be able to say why lives matter?
but like I genuinely, for the life of me, cannot understand. Like that is scary. That is actually scary that you cannot have a t-shirt saying that, and then you
Yeah,
just get cancelled for all your concerts. That for me is like, that's actually worrying. That's genuinely like, and for me,
this is my new T-shirt.
Urban Outfitters. Sorry, Connor, you're
Urban,
actually gonna have to take a
urban,
step outside. That's actually a disgrace. You're gonna have to lose your bank account, man.
urban outfits matter, y'all.
Yeah. And he lost
Try
his
them.
bank account as well with JP Morgan. So like look, but as I said, it was just funny because his manager, I think Kanye's manager, well, he's called Ye now. I thought
Yeah,
that is a that's a 4-hour podcast for another day, man. He's called
fuck
Ye now. I don't
yeah,
even know why. But
fuck
like,
yeah,
yeah, he's
but not
Ye.
fuck yeah, but
I
fuck
might
yeah.
change my
You know
name.
what I'm saying?
I'll change my name to Hey.
Hey Ray.
Hey. Or just something like, I don't know. But anyway, as I said, his manager came out and said, man, you really shouldn't wear this t-shirt. And he was like, you're going to basically lose everything. And it's like, it is proving a point. It's saying like, you know, how can you lose your everything over wearing a t-shirt that says that? But
I
yeah,
think
it's interesting.
he was giving P Diddy or Puff Daddy or P Diddles or whatever, giving him some shit for I don't know, being controlled, having some handlers of a certain, I don't even know, I can't even say it, a certain racial group, I
P
suppose.
Diddy.
But anyway, so he was talking about that, and
P Diddy should call himself P Paddy. Go on.
I'm gonna say if Ye wants to come at the old Sea Dog.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. If Ye wants to come on here, man, yo, no problem. You come on here. I'll make you a cup of tea. You'll fly over to Cork City. Go to a football match and a Munster match while it's at it as well.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to show me Cork City sometime.
You have to come over, man. Seriously. Do you remember one time there was Cork City that actually for publicity? I think they tweeted like Kanye and Kim back in the day saying, if you want free tickets for a game, you're more than welcome. And they got like tens of thousands because I think Kim tweeted them back or something. So it's good for publicity, that type of stuff. It's crazy.
They got married in Cork, didn't they?
I think so, yeah, something like that. And then Cork City FC were like saying, look, you guys want to come to a match, we'll actually give you free tickets. But they were too busy. They probably at Cork City, like, oh my word, they probably don't no clue about any soccer team.
You know what? Talking about free tickets, Bradford City donated some to the charity raffle. And you know, big up Bradford City for the charity tickets. They're going to go a long way to getting some extra donations for the Pink Day. It's like some charity thing. So yeah, big up Bradford City for that. And they won again. Bradford City are doing really well. Mark Hughes is the manager, going to win the league. That's all I got to say.
Mark Hughes is in Bradford now, Genie.
Yeah.
Right. He's
gone up in the world.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a Bradford fan. I don't want to get too disrespectful here, but yeah, man, that's
an interesting choice.
I can tell life's going well for that guy anyway. What's he shopping in Iceland as well, is he?
Well, that's it. Like what they say, more money than sense, but it can't be that.
Well, they're actually saying that in England and even in Ireland now is that even with the League of Ireland, that the attendances are going up because a lot of people are just getting sick of the Premier League, Champions League, overpaid, you know, assholes on the pitch. Like I remember Neymar watching him in the World Cup, and I actually had to switch it off. Now, Jeannie, talk just that I mentioned the World Cup. I won't be watching this year's World Cup anyway, but I thought Neymar at the World Cup and some of these prima donna players, just I can't watch them. They're just way too annoying, particularly Neymar. I really have it out for that guy. That guy spends more time on the ground than like a person that like does groundwork. So it's unbelievable.
I think he likes it there. Yeah, I think he likes it there.
But I was only going to say that see the World Cup, Gary Neville now is working for like the Qatari government, which I found an interesting one. A guy that like goes on about like caring about human rights and all this, but then he gets a few ching ching baby, I'll take the money. Like it's so funny. Like everyone just like you offer them the ching Gary Neville. It's like, okay, that's it. Yeah, I'll just forget about all the, you know, human rights atrocities.
Yeah. I mean, look at the whole thing, isn't it? And David Beckham likes to say who and who shouldn't have a medical procedure, but he can take the dollar from every private organization that will lube him up with it.
I was only want to say one thing, just for everyone in general. Like for me, like people like David Beckham is a person that like he's like a lick ass, and he tries to be perfect. He tries to give off this image of just perfection. Is that like everything he does is perfect. He gives money to charity. He's just such an amazing guy. But those type of people I always find are actually not the nicest of people at all. I find they're actually the worst. And I'd say if you lived with him, because it was the same with your own Ellen DeGeneres in America. I remember the TV show. And if you watch her, you think, oh, this is like the nicest woman ever. This is like, and well, people were saying Ellen. She is a scumbag.
Well, let's hit Ellen because I know you talked about her the other week, and I was thinking, yeah I remember that stuff.
I've beef with Ellen. She can come on here as well, and we can have a straightener. You know.
Imagine we had Ellen and Ye on. To be fair, I think they'd probably hammer us. I think their experience, and they've got some dark crystal bullshit coming off them. So I think they'd probably give us a hammering, but I'd still bring it on.
Do you know what? Look, I'll give it a go. I'm going to give it my best shot. And look, my mama didn't raise a quitter, so I'm going out there. Like I'm going all guns blazing. Like Ellen, Kanye, you want to come on here? Kanye, you're not. I don't have too much beef with you. It's Ellen I have the beef with, but maybe Kanye back me up.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, what was the Ellen story then? Do you remember it?
Yeah, well, basically, for anyone who doesn't know, Ellen DeGeneres is a TV host. She hosts a late night chat show in the USA. I don't even.
Like
I literally. Sorry?
She's like number two to Oprah, isn't she?
Oh, she's huge. She's like the biggest deal in America. Now, I've only watched one or two of her stuff because people just post crap on Instagram. I don't really know much about her. But anyway, I just remember watching her and I was just like, that woman is too nice. Like, I just don't like people that are too nice. Like, you have to be a bit of an asshole sometimes. Otherwise, it's like, you're not human. So anyway, it came out then that a lot of her staff that were working for her were saying that she's the biggest bully. She's a narcissist. She's horrible. She treats people like an absolute piece of crap. And then as soon as the cameras go on, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. She's like the nicest person ever. And the whole thing came out. And I think she admitted it. She even admitted that she was being not a nice person. But I was just really not surprised about it. And it just tells you, like, I think I'm not going to say David Beckham. David Beckham can come on here as well if he wants, by the way. But I don't know. Like, when people are too nice,
Well, that's it. We're being a bit harsh because, look,
maybe
I'm
he's
sure,
nice.
and I don't know about Ellen. I don't know about Ellen. Don't really know much about her. Again, with Kanye, who knows? He's in a different universe. Who knows? But I mean, like David Beckham, and Gary Neville for that matter, you can tell that they've obviously very. Let me try and use my words carefully here, but no, just I want to say good people, but maybe that's not the right. I mean, I don't know them, so I can't really say these things. But they seem like well-intentioned humans,
Yeah, they
and
do. Yeah.
I believe that that at some level they're being duped to follow certain agendas, where and not other ones. I mean, I like a lot of what Gary has been saying recently, so I give him plaudits for that. And I must be honest with the Qatar thing. Again, I'm not that researched up on the Qatar issue, so I only know two chords, so I'm not good on Qatar. But no, I just think that, like, I could see why he'd do the Qatar job, so I'll give him a pass on that one. But yeah, you got to be so careful. He doesn't really need the money. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of money, so that would,
Oh yeah.
I'd be lying if I'd say I'd turn it down. Right now, I'd accept it because I'm not in a position in life to really turn that down, and that's hypocritical.
And you could go on a
Of me
few more holidays then as well, to be fair.
That's it. But no, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to. It depends where I would lie with the agenda, and anyway, I don't know what too much to say. But what I'm trying to basically say is David Beckham and Gary Neville, they've done a lot of good things in the past, and still do it in their own right. So I give them credit for that. It's just a shame when they get caught up in Luciferian agendas, dark agendas.
Yeah, well,
Because they do.
I don't think that Gary Neville or what's that other dude, David Beckham, I don't think they'd ever go against just like mainstream narrative ever, like ever, no matter what it was. So
Gary's talked a bit on a political level. I must be honest, he has.
he wants to be an MP, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's gone down that a little bit. I mean, he says he doesn't, but yeah, and fair play to him. I mean, he's talks out, on with Rashford and the unaffordable housing and stuff in Manchester and stuff. So he's doing some good stuff, and he does a lot. I mean, I was listening to his podcast the other day. The podcast he was on, he's got something like got multiple businesses, and he does a lot of stuff, and he works hard on in everything he does.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, he's a grafter.
Yeah, and so I mean, he's a good man in a lot of ways. And I don't know. Again, I can't really say much about the Qatar thing. I agree with you. He didn't need to take it. And same with Beckham as well. Like getting involved in these kind of mainstream agendas that, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on them, but I could be. Put it that way, especially on Beckham.
I was going to say we're on the last minute now, so we've only got about 50 seconds left.
What a shame.
Another good talk, man.
Yeah, it's good. We were a bit more on the celebrities and things this week, which I don't know if people like that, they can comment. But yeah, it was interesting. Plenty to be discussed as usual.
Yeah, well, the thing with like you might not like everything, the mainstream and all that, but like you shouldn't ignore it as well, because like these celebrities are very, very influential people, and like what Gary Neville says is maybe gets like half the amount of views that what we say, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're doing all right. We'll give
Like,
them some tips.
we'll give them some tips. We'll bring them on next time. But
With
yeah,
Ye.
no, as I said, we'll have to get
Sea
the
Dog and Ye.
we'll have to get
Sea Dog
Ye.
and